Okay, let's unpack this incredible story. We are diving deep today into one of the most audacious, yet ultimately maybe one of the most incompetent crimes in modern American history. We're talking about the 1997 Loomis Fargo heist.
Absolutely. And to really get this, you have to picture Charlotte, North Carolina back then. I mean, this isn't just some random city. It's a huge banking center in the U.S.
Right.
Hundreds of millions, maybe billions, are flowing through there daily. And right at the heart of it all was Loomis, Fargo & Co. You know, the armored trucks, the big cash vaults.
Exactly. A company literally handling the physical cash that makes the economy tick. And in October 1997, they got hit big time. It was the second largest cash robbery in U.S. history at that point.
$17.3 million.
It's just a staggering amount of money.
It really is. And that sum makes what happened next just so fascinating and frankly kind of absurd, because this wasn't some slick professional crew you see in movies.
Not at all.
It was an inside job, pulled off by this, well, disillusioned Loomis vault supervisor, David Gant, who was just sick of his dead-end job.
No.
And his crew, small-time criminals who were so spectacularly bad at staying hidden that the whole thing instantly got nicknamed the Hillbilly Heist. And that name, well, it stuck.
And that failure to lie low, as you put it, that's really the core of what we want to explore today. We're going to tell the vivid story of how David Gant managed to get all that cash out.
Right.
And then how Steve Chambers and the rest of them basically put up giant flashing signs saying, we did it in like less than a month.
It's quite the cast of characters, too. You've got David Gant, Gulf War vet, the insider, the guy who apparently hated the actual smell of the money he guarded but couldn't touch.
Yeah, I read that wild detail.
Then there's Kelly Campbell. She used to work at Loomis, too. The FBI called her Gant's lover, though she denied it later. She was the crucial link, really, the one who kind of planted the seed.
The catalyst. And finally, Steve Chambers, the quote-unquote mastermind.
Right, emphasis on quote-unquote. Small-time crook, apparently desperate for a big score, but maybe, just maybe, lacking a tiny bit in the strategic thinking department.
Just a bit. Okay, let's jump into how this all started. The motivation.
Okay, so to really understand why Gant would do this, you need to feel the pressure he was under. David Gant, like we said, Gulf War vet, married to Tammy, and he had this job, vault supervisor at Loomis. Sounds important, right?
High responsibility, definitely, guarding millions.
Exactly. High responsibility, high trust. But the pay, terrible. He was working these insane hours, 75, sometimes 80 hours a week, long shifts, often alone in his hot, secure vault, moving literally tons of cash.
And for all that?
$8.15 an hour.
Wow. $8.15. For handling millions, that's
rough.
It's more than rough. It's kind of a mind-bending situation, isn't it? You're physically surrounded by stacks and stacks of wealth, but your own life is just suffocating under debt. He even said later he hated the smell of the ink on the cash.
Because it reminded him of what he didn't have. Exactly. It was this constant physical reminder. And it wasn't just, feeling broke. Sources say he was genuinely cornered by debt. His wife, Tammy, was apparently super strict with money, trying to keep them afloat on this tiny budget, just managing credit card bills.
So, real financial distress.
Deep distress.
Yeah.
And here's the kicker. The moment it seemed to crystallize for him. Gant apparently sat down and did the math.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. He figured out, just based on his $8.15 an hour and their expenses, it would take him 30 years. 3 decades.
30 years just to pay off credit cards.
Just the credit cards. 30 years of 80-hour weeks in that vault. And when he realized that, apparently, that his life was basically this 30-year sentence of just grinding away, well, you know how coworkers joke.
Yeah, like, haha, we should just rob the place.
Precisely. Those jokes stopped being funny for Gant. They started sounding like a real option, an escape plan.
So the desperation met the opportunity. He knew the place inside out.
He knew the weaknesses, the schedules, everything. But maybe he was too, I don't know, risk-averse. Or maybe just needed a nudge to actually do it.
And that nudge came from Kelly Campbell.
Yep, Kelly Campbell.
Yeah.
She'd worked at Loomis before, so she knew the setup, generally. The FBI definitely thought they were romantically involved. Gant seemed to think so too. She denied it later, but whatever the label.
She was the spark.
She was the spark. She apparently told him he was trapped, validated his anger, and then said, you're the perfect person to pull off a robbery. You know all the secrets.
So she didn't just sympathize, she basically gave him permission almost. Painted his insider knowledge as the key.
Exactly. And then she provided the next piece of the puzzle, the connection that would ultimately doom the whole thing. Steve Chambers.
Ah, the mastermind.
Right. Gant had the inside track, the logistics. Chambers was supposed to be the outside guy, the connection, maybe the muscle, I guess.
But looking at his background, professional criminal doesn't really leap to mind, does it?
Not even close. He was Kelly's friend from high school. A small-timer. Bookie, maybe dealt a little bit. And, oh, the irony, he'd even been an FBI informant briefly. An unreliable one, apparently.
An unreliable FBI informant planning a massive heist.
Okay, and here's the crucial timing. Right when this idea is cooking, Chambers is in serious trouble himself.
What kind of trouble?
Felony charges for passing bad checks. Like $30,000 worth.
Wow. So he wasn't just looking for a payday, he needed one. Desperately.
He needed a huge immediate score to make his legal problems just disappear. Which, thinking about it, meant he had absolutely zero reason to lie low like you're supposed to. That's the giant red flag Gant maybe should have seen.
But maybe Gant was too focused on his own escape.
Possibly. And the initial plan for the money, it sounds almost naive now. Chambers, Campbell, and Gant apparently figured they'd split it 3 ways. They thought maybe they'd each get around $4 million.
$4 million. To Gant, that must have sounded like the solution to everything. 30 years of debt, gone.
Exactly. That promise was everything. It's really key to remember Chambers' desperate need for cash now, and Gant's laser focus on just escaping his debt as we look at how they actually planned this thing. 2 desperate people trusting each other implicitly. What could go wrong?
Yeah, famous last words. Okay, so Ganson, he's the inside man. And the plan, it actually cleverly used Loomis Fargo's own situation against them, didn't it? Something about a recent merger.
Yeah, that's right. Loomis, Fargo & Co., as it existed in '97, was actually the result of a very recent merger and consolidation. And, like often happens.
Cost-cutting.
Bingo. Cost-cutting. The physical security, the vault itself was solid. Thick walls, alarms, cameras, the works. But the human security, that was stretched thin. They were seriously understaffed.
And Gant knew this firsthand. He knew the schedules.
Intimately. He realized that when he worked certain shifts, especially late nights or weekends as the vault supervisor, he was literally the only person there with all the keys and all the access codes.
No need to break in. He just had to wait for everyone else to clock out.
Exactly. And give Gant some credit here, he did do his homework. Surprisingly meticulous, considering who he teamed up with. This wasn't just watching heist movies.
Yeah,
no,
okay.
He went to the library. Remember, this is 1997, before you could just Google everything.
Yeah.
He actually researched FBI procedures for major robberies.
Smart. What did he find out?
He learned about the bubble. Basically, when a huge crime like this happens, the FBI's first move is to throw up an immediate, intense dragnet around the crime scene.
Okay.
They focus all their initial resources on a specific geographic area, maybe 250, 300 miles out, checking airports, bus stations, train stations, major roads in that zone.
Right, looking for the getaway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Gant's thinking was pretty logical. Job 1 is to get outside that bubble immediately.
And his destination.
Mexico. The plan was get across the border, lie low, wait for the heat to die down. He'd only take enough cash to survive for a bit.
Which leads us to the absolutely critical and ultimately fatal agreement about the money.
Fatal is the right word.
Yeah.
The plan was for Gant to take only $50,000 with him when he fled.
50,000 out of 17 million. Why so little?
Because that was the maximum amount of cash you could legally carry across the U.S. border back then without having to declare it to customs. He wanted to slip across quietly.
Okay, that makes sense. So, where did the other $17,250,000 go?
That's the unbelievable part. It was all entrusted entirely to Steve Chambers.
Wait, Chambers? The guy facing bad check charges? He was supposed to hold on to $17 million.
That was the plan. Chambers would take the bulk of the cash, hide it somewhere safe, and then slowly, carefully wire funds to Gant in Mexico over time. Drip feed him money until things cooled off, which Gant figured would take at least 6 months, maybe a year.
The amount of trust Gant placed in Chambers there is just mind-boggling, handing over his entire future, basically, to a guy he barely knew, a guy who desperately needed cash right now.
It's staggering, isn't it? Gant, the meticulous researcher, the veteran, just completely missed the character assessment part. The entire plan hinged on Steve Chambers suddenly developing patience, self-control, and long-term vision.
Qualities that seem unlikely given his immediate legal problems.
Exactly. It was practically designed to fail from that moment. Though, to be fair, Chambers did do one thing right initially.
What was that?
He apparently spent $50,000 of, somebody's money, probably his own ill-gotten gains, to get Gant a fake ID and passport. He knew Gant had to disappear cleanly for the plan to even start,
So he invests 50 grand to enable the $17 million score.
only to completely sabotage it almost immediately after. The irony is thick.
And Chambers brought in other people too, right? It wasn't just the three of them.
Right. He needed help moving and hiding the sheer volume of cash. So he roped in his cousin, a guy named Scott Grant, and a former coworker, Eric Payne.
Were they getting an equal share? The $4 million.
Oh no, not according to the plan. Chambers apparently offered them just a flat fee, $100,000 each, just for being the muscle, for helping with the logistics that night. They weren't partners in the big score.
Interesting. So even then, Chambers was thinking of it mostly as his money. Everyone else was just hired help.
Pretty much, that mindset really sets the stage for the absolute chaos of the heist night itself. Okay, so the big day arrives, Saturday, October 4th, 1997. And Gant has the perfect setup. He's scheduled for the late shift, and even better, he's training a new guy, Corey.
Ah, the trainee. Easy to manage.
Exactly. Gant uses his seniority, tells Corey he can knock off early, maybe around 6 p.m. The new guy's probably thrilled to get out early on a Saturday.
So Corey leaves. Gant makes a show of leaving too.
Yep. Pretends to drive off, waits a bit, then circles back and lets himself quietly back into the now empty Loomis facility. He's alone with the vault.
And $17 million inside.
$17.3 million, technically. And here's where the physical reality hits. This isn't like stealing diamonds, small and valuable. This is cash.
Mostly small bills, right?
Tons of 20s. About $11 million worth was just in $20 bills, because that's what they used to stock ATMs.
So we're talking volume and weight.
A lot of weight.
Hmm.
Calculations put it at somewhere between 2,700 and 2,800 pounds.
That's over a ton.
Over a ton of cash. And Gant had to move all of it by himself from the vault across the floor and load it into the company's Loomis armored van.
How long did that take him?
Sources say about an hour. An hour of just pure back-breaking physical labor. Lifting, hauling, stacking bags and bundles of money. Alone.
Under immense pressure, knowing the clock is ticking.
Absolutely. The physical strain, the mental stress, it must have been incredible. And maybe that's why the mistakes started happening almost immediately after he got the last bag loaded.
What kind of mistakes? Security.
Yeah. He was smart enough to know he had to deal with the cameras. He found 2 of them, disabled them, and even took the videotapes out of their recorders.
Okay, sounds thorough.
Except he missed one. There was a 3rd camera, kind of hidden, feeding into a backup VCR recorder in a different cabinet. He didn't know about it, or just missed it in the rush.
Oh no, and that camera saw everything.
It saw everything. The whole hour of him hauling cash. And famously, it caught this one moment right after he finished loading. Maybe relief, maybe adrenaline. Gant does this little, victory dance.
The dance! You're kidding.
Not kidding. A little celebratory shimmy caught on tape. That footage obviously became Exhibit A, made him the instant prime suspect.
Wow. Okay, blunder number 1. What else went wrong?
The exit. He gets the loaded van, drives it towards the back fence, the rear gate. He expects it to be open or to have a key that works easily.
Hey.
It's locked, solidly locked, and none of his keys work. He's trapped inside the compound in a stolen armored van full of cash.
Panic stations, I imagine?
Total panic. He has to get on the radio or phone.
Yeah.
Call Kelly Campbell for help. She redirects him, tells him to try the front gate instead.
Did that work?
Thankfully for him, yes, the front gate was accessible. But the whole fence fiasco cost him time, made him late for the rendezvous. He finally meets up with Campbell, Chambers, and the hired help, Eric Payne and Scott Grant.
The handoff.
The handoff. He gives them the van, he gives him his gun, ironically, probably thinking it helps frame him as the lone wolf. Later, he gives them the 2 tapes he did manage to steal. And he gives them his key ring.
Just one key ring.
One massive key ring. Apparently it had something like 200 keys on it, including, somewhere, the one key needed to open the armored van's rear cargo door.
Oh, you cannot be serious. 200 keys.
200 keys. So Chambers' crew, Payne and Grant, they grab the van, drive it a short distance away to where they have their own rental van waiting, ready to transfer the cash.
Yeah.
And they can't get the back door open.
Because they can't find the right key on this giant ring.
Exactly. They're frantically trying key after key, losing precious time. Minutes are ticking by, they're getting desperate, and then they do something truly idiotic. They try to smash the van's windows. The armored, bulletproof windows.
With a rock.
They threw a rock at bulletproof glass.
They did. Predictably, it didn't work. Just bounced off. It's almost comical, the level of incompetence under pressure.
Okay, so they're delayed, panicking. What about the money transfer itself?
That was blunder number 3, maybe 4. the sheer bulk of the cash. Remember, over a ton of it. Gant wrestled it into the big armored van. But Chambers' crew only had a smaller, regular rental van waiting.
Driven by Eric Payne.
Right. And they quickly realized there was no way all that cash, especially the bulky $20 bills, was going to fit into the smaller van.
They couldn't take it all.
Not even close. They had to make a decision. They basically stuffed the rental van as full as they could and just left the rest.
How much did they leave behind?
About $3.3 million. Still neatly stacked in Loomis bags and containers right there in the back of the armored van.
Unbelievable. They also left Gant's gun, right? And the tapes.
Yep.
Abandoned the van with $3.3 million, the gun, and the 2 security tapes Gant had specifically stolen to cover his tracks. Just left it all there. Proof of accomplices, basically.
While this chaos is happening with Chambers' crew, what's Gant doing?
Gant and Campbell are trying to execute the escape plan. They meet up briefly after Gant hands off the van. He grabs his $50,000 escape money, literally stuffing cash into his boots and pockets.
Okay.
Then they drive like mad, about 90 miles, to their planned escape point, the airport in Columbia, South Carolina.
Ready for the flight to Mexico.
Except another snag. They get to the Columbia airport, and it's closed for the night. And even if it were open, they realize there are no direct flights to Mexico from there anyway.
The plan is falling apart at every step.
Completely. Gant's probably frantic. He has to call Chambers again for new instructions. Chambers tells him, okay, new plan. Take a bus, go 200 miles to Atlanta, catch a flight from there.
A bus, after stealing $17 million.
A bus. But you know what? Despite the locked gates, the missed camera, the key fiasco, the abandoned money, the closed airport, Gant actually makes it.
He gets to Atlanta.
Gets on a plane, and successfully lands in Cozumel, Mexico. He's out of the FBI's initial bubble. The heist itself was a comedy of errors. The handoff was a disaster. The escape route changed on the fly. But Gant made it out.
The question now is, can Steve Chambers possibly keep it together back home?
Yeah, that's the multi-million-dollar question, isn't it?
So Gant's in Mexico. How long before things unravel back in Charlotte?
Not long at all. Sunday morning, the very next day, Tammy Gant reports David missing. Loomis employees show up for work, find the vault locked tight, Gant's keys gone, the armored van missing. They know something is very wrong.
And they find his truck.
Right. Police find Gant's red pickup truck parked outside the Loomis facility. And sitting right there on the driver's seat is his wedding ring.
A deliberate signal.
That's how the police read it initially. And they were right. A sign he was cutting ties, starting over. Since it involved missing bank money, and so much of it, the FBI gets called in immediately.
How quickly did they figure out Gant was involved?
Almost instantly.
Yeah.
Once they got the vault open, they found the backup VCR Gant had missed.
The tape with the little dance?
Exactly. That tape showed Gant was the only one inside doing the hauling. Clear proof. The FBI actually indicted him for the theft less than 48 hours after it happened. At first, it looked like he might have acted alone, just vanished with the cash.
But that theory didn't last long.
Nope. It evaporated 2 days later when they found the abandoned Loomis van.
Where did they find it?
Just about 10 miles away, maybe 16 kilometers, ditched in a field. And crucially, very close to where Eric Payne, one of Chambers' crew, worked.
And inside the van?
Inside was the jackpot for the investigators. The $3.3 million in cash they couldn't fit. Gant's handgun. And most importantly, those 2 surveillance tapes Gant had stolen.
Finding those tapes in the abandoned van was huge, wasn't it?
Absolutely massive. It screamed accomplices. Why else would Gant steal tapes only for them to be dumped with the leftover cash in his gun? It proved he didn't act alone, that there was a clumsy handoff. The investigation immediately shifted focus from just finding Gant to finding his partners.
And did the partners make that easy for the FBI?
Oh, incredibly easy. Bless their hearts, as they say down there. Steve Chambers and his family basically threw out the rule book for lying low. Rule 1, don't attract attention. They seem to do the exact opposite.
Chambers claimed he studied crime movies, right?
He did. Apparently, he only watched the first half, the robbery part. He must have skipped the scenes about staying quiet afterwards. Their spending was so immediate, so flashy, so unsubtle.
That's where the hillbilly heist nickname came from.
Exactly. The local media latched onto it. The Kramer Mountain Hillbillies, they called them, after the fancy area they moved into. They were practically waving red flags at the authorities.
How fast did the spending start?
Ridiculously fast. Get this, within 24 days, less than a month after the heist. Steve and his wife, Michelle Chambers, ditched their mobile home.
My trailer.
Yep, moved out of a trailer and bought a $635,000 luxury mansion in Cramerton. in this exclusive country club neighborhood. Paid cash.
$635,000. Cash. 24 days after the robbery. Subtle.
Zero subtlety. And then came the shopping spree. It wasn't just buying a house. It was like they were trying to spend the money as visibly as possible. It wasn't about investing. It was about instant, loud status.
What kind of stuff did they buy?
Oh, the classics. A BMW Z3 convertible cash purchase, of course. Rolex watches, plural. Tanning beds. Loads of expensive furniture delivered right away. Michelle got a massive diamond ring, like $43,000. No attempt to pretend it was an heirloom or anything.
And the home decor. I've heard stories.
Legendary. This is where the hillbilly tag really stuck. They bought a black velvet painting of Elvis Presley.
No. The Velvet Elvis is real.
Oh, it's real. And a painting of a bulldog dressed as General George S. Patton. And like a life-sized wooden cigar store Indian for the entrance hall. Just peak conspicuous consumption with questionable taste.
It sounds like a movie set.
Gets better. This fancy mansion had a proper wine cellar, for expensive vintages.
What do they stock it with?
Cases and cases of Pabst Blue Ribbon beer.
PBR in the wine cellar.
You cannot make this stuff up.
Yeah.
They weren't hiding the money. They were practically bathing in it publicly.
Were the others spending wildly too?
To a lesser extent, yeah. There were reports Michelle Chambers, or maybe some wives or sisters of the other guys, got breast implants with the cash. Eric Payne, the van driver,
What did he buy?
bought himself a brand new Harley-Davidson motorcycle and a Chevy Tahoe SUV. Apparently made the down payments with suspicious stacks of, you guessed it, $20 bills.
Just drawing attention everywhere they went. But the real nail in the coffin came from Michelle Chambers at the bank, right?
Oh yeah. This was the point of no return. She started off trying to be clever, making lots of small cash deposits, trying to stay under the $10,000 reporting threshold, structuring.
Standard money laundering practice, trying to avoid suspicion.
But she got impatient, or greedy, or both. She walks up to a bank teller one day and asks the single stupidest question you can possibly ask when you're handling stolen money.
Which was?
How much money can I deposit before you guys have to report it to the feds?
She actually asked that out loud to a bank teller.
Word for word, apparently. And then, maybe realizing how bad that sounded, she immediately added, don't worry, it's not drug money.
Oh, Michelle, that definitely didn't help.
Not at all. That conversation instantly triggered a SAR, a suspicious activity report. Mandatory filing by the bank. Now, the feds had official paperwork flagging her in these weird cash deposits.
But they needed concrete proof linking the cash directly to Loomis Fargo.
And Michelle provided that too. On a later bank visit, she makes another deposit. And this time, some of the cash she brings in is still wrapped in the original Loomis Fargo currency straps.
The paper bands.
Exactly. And these straps even had the handwritten initials of a specific Loomis employee on them, part of their internal tracking.
That's it. Game over.
That was the smoking gun. Physical, undeniable proof linking the cash in Michelle Chambers' hands directly back to the Loomis Fargo vault. The FBI now knew exactly who Gant's accomplices were. So while Steve and Michelle are basically throwing a coming-out party for their stolen money back in North Carolina.
Complete with Velvet Elvis and PBR.
Right. David Gant is down in Cozumel trying to live out the original plan, albeit maybe a bit too lavishly.
He was enjoying the money he did have.
Oh, definitely. He went full tourist living the dream. Scuba diving, parasailing, staying in nice hotels, eating well. He admitted later the dumbest thing he bought was 4 pairs of cowboy boots in one day. Just pure impulse spending after years of scrimping.
But $50,000 doesn't last forever living like that.
Not even close. Soon enough, he needed more cash. So he calls Steve Chambers, asked for the first installment, another $50 K like they planned.
And Chambers sends it right over.
Not quite. Chambers, who's probably already annoyed at having to deal with Gant at all while he's busy buying mansions, sends back just $8,000.
$8,000 out of the millions he's holding.
Yep. A tiny fraction. Gant got suspicious immediately. He realized Chambers probably had no intention of sending the full share. Why would he, when he was spending it so freely himself?
And then Gant had a scare, right? Someone recognized him.
Yeah, big-time scare. He's eating in a restaurant, maybe in Cancun by this point, and some other American tourist comes up to him.
What did he say?
Said something like, hey, you look exactly like that guy who stole, $20 million back in North Carolina.
Wow, the story was already that famous.
Famous and apparently widely mocked. Gant was terrified. He changed locations again, tried to change his appearance, shaved his head, tried to blend in, but it was probably too late.
And back home, Chambers is feeling the heat from the FBI investigation.
Definitely. The FBI is closing in, asking questions. The SAR has been filed. Chambers starts getting paranoid, but in the wrong direction. He convinces himself the only reason the FBI is still investigating is because Gant is still out there.
He thinks Gant is the only link.
He seems to think if Gant just disappears permanently, then the investigation will stop, and he and Michelle can keep the rest of the money and live happily ever after in their mansion.
So he decides to.
He decides to have Gant killed.
Wow. It escalated that quickly.
Yep. He hires a guy named Mike McKinney, apparently a big dude, ex-Marine, maybe worked as a bodyguard.
Yeah.
Chambers offers McKinney $250,000 to go down to Mexico and take care of David Gant.
$250,000 for a hit.
That's the plan. And this is where the FBI investigation really pays off, specifically the wiretaps.
They were listening to Chambers' calls.
They were. Because of all the suspicious spending, they had warrants. And they start hearing chatter related to this murder plot. They even intercept a call where Kelly Campbell relays a page, like a numeric message she got from Gant, proving to Chambers that Gant was alive and still in contact.
So the FBI knows Gant's alive, and they know Chambers wants him dead.
Exactly. It turns into this crazy race. The FBI needs Gant alive to make their case against the whole conspiracy. McKinney, the hitman, using the alias Bruno, is heading to Mexico to kill him. The FBI's primary job is usually arresting fugitives like Gant, but now they have to protect him from Chambers' hitman.
Talk about irony.
Huge irony. And then Gant makes one crucial mistake. Still desperate for money, he calls Kelly Campbell again. And in that call, recorded by the FBI, he tells her exactly where he is.
He gave up his location.
Yep, Cozumel, Mexico. Now the FBI knows where he is, and they know McKinney is on his way. They have to move fast, coordinating with the Mexican authorities.
Did McKinney get to him first?
Here's the final, almost unbelievable twist. McKinney finds Gant, but he doesn't kill him.
What? Why not?
Accounts differ. Some say Gant got a warning, maybe from an intermediary Chambers used called Robert, tipped him off about Bruno. Other versions suggest McKinney, the supposed tough guy hitman, actually just kind of befriended Gant when he met him. Maybe he had second thoughts.
So the hitman didn't carry out the hit?
Nope. The murder plot completely fizzled out.
Yeah.
Which was lucky for Gant, because the authorities were right behind McKinney.
When did they finally arrest Gant?
5 months after the heist, March 1st, 1998, Mexican police pick him up at Playa del Carmen. And apparently, Gant wasn't scared or angry. He was relieved.
Relieved.
Yeah. When the FBI agent showed up to take him into custody, Gant reportedly said, "I'm really glad to see you." He was probably tired of running, tired of looking over his shoulder, maybe realized the game was up.
And with Gant caught, the net closes back in Charlotte.
Immediately. The very next day, March 2nd, the FBI launches coordinated raids. They arrest Steve and Michelle Chambers, Kelly Campbell, Eric Payne, Scott Grant, 7 others in total, the whole core group.
And they searched the Chambers mansion.
Oh, yeah. And it was exactly what you'd expect. Agents apparently needed money counting machines running for 2 full days just to tally up all the cash they found stashed around the house.
Where was it hidden?
Everywhere. Desk drawers, shoeboxes under beds, and famously inside one of those big blue 55-gallon plastic barrels in the basement, probably one of the same barrels they'd used clumsily on the night of the heist to try and move the money.
How much did they recover from the house?
Over $11 million in cash alone, plus jewelry, cars, and all the stuff they'd bought, including, yes, the Velvet Elvis painting, seized as proceeds of crime.
The Velvet Elvis became evidence. Perfect.
After the arrests, Steve Chambers, facing overwhelming evidence, reportedly sang like a canary, cooperated fully, named everyone involved, down to the minor players.
Which explains the huge number of convictions.
Exactly. It wasn't just the core group. In total, 24 people were convicted in connection with this heist.
20.
Yep. 8 were directly involved in the planning, the theft, moving the money. But another 16 people, friends, family members, even Chambers' own lawyer got convicted on money laundering charges.
What were they doing?
Helping hide the cash, renting safe deposit boxes in their names, maybe setting up small accounts, basically trying to wash the money for the main conspirators.
Even the lawyer?
Yeah, Jeff Guller, Chambers' attorney, he got 8 years. Apparently, he went beyond just giving legal advice and actively helped set up ways to launder the proceeds. Shows how deep the attempt to hide the money went, even if it was clumsy. He was the only one who pleaded not guilty, too.
What about the sentences for the main players? Gant, Chambers.
They varied. David Gant, the guy who actually stole the money, got 7.5 years. Steve Chambers, the mastermind, a big spender, got the longest, 11 years and 3 months.
And Michelle Chambers.
She got 7 years and 8 months. Her sentence might have been a bit longer, partly because she apparently violated her bond conditions while waiting for trial. Kelly Campbell cooperated early on, so she got a bit less. 5 years and 10 months.
It's just, when you look back, the whole thing feels like such a failure of basic logic, doesn't it? Gant's initial idea, get the money, get out of the bubble. Wait, it wasn't terrible in theory.
The core escape logic was sound, but it was instantly, completely torpedoed by the sheer, overwhelming, couldn't-wait 5 minutes greed of Chambers and his crew. They couldn't manage 30 days, let alone the 6 to 12 months Gant envisioned.
The spending was just too fast, too dumb.
Too conspicuous. The mansion, the BMW, the Rolexes, the Velvet Elvis. It wasn't just bad taste. It was like handing the FBI a signed confession with receipts attached. The robbery worked because Gant knew the system's flaws. The getaway failed because Chambers lacked any shred of common sense or patience.
Did they get most of the money back in the end?
Surprisingly, yes. From the insurance company's perspective, it was fairly successful. Because the Chambers spending was so concentrated and traceable, and they found so much cash at the mansion, they recovered somewhere between 88 and 90% of the $17.3 million.
But that still leaves some missing, right?
Over $2 million is still unaccounted for. Gone. Gantz never really explained where it went. Maybe others laundered some successfully. Maybe some just got lost in the sheer incompetence of it all. Nobody knows for sure.
And then there's the restitution. They have to pay it back.
Oh, yeah. The courts ordered 14 of the defendants to collectively pay back almost $19 million to the insurance company that covered Loomis Fargo's loss.
$19 million. How much have they actually paid?
That's the grim reality. So far, barely anything. Maybe around $978,000 total has been collected. That's like 5%.
Wow. Where did that come from?
Mostly from selling off the Chambers mansion and all this stuff they bought, the BMW, the jewelry, and yes, auctioning off the Velvet Elvis.
So Gant still owes millions.
Millions. His share of the debt is around $3.8 million. He works in construction now. There's basically zero chance he'll ever pay that off. Federal debt collection efforts usually have a time limit, maybe 20 years after release, but realistically, that debt will hang over him forever. It's kind of symbolic punishment at this point.
The whole case became a bit of a pop culture joke, didn't it?
Instantly. White trash crime, the Cranger Mountain Hillbillies. The media had a field day with the absurdity of stealing so much, only to get caught because you bought tacky stuff.
And it inspired that movie, Masterminds.
Right. The 2016 comedy with Zach Galifianakis playing Gant.
Did Gant have anything to do with the movie?
He did, actually. He consulted on it, gave them his perspective. But here's the final kicker.
Let me guess. Because of the restitution debt?
He couldn't legally be paid a penny for his work on the film about his own crime. The debt came first.
Unbelievable. How does Gant see it all now?
He's remarried, still working construction. He's actually expressed this weird kind of pride. Not pride in getting away with it, obviously, but pride that he, David Gant, the $8.15 an hour guy, actually did pull off the massive theft itself, even if everything after that was a disaster.
He sort of owned the hillbilly label too, didn't he?
Yeah, he said he never took offense. He was quoted saying something like, "They're not wrong." And I think that makes it all the more funny because it really offends my co-defendants. And to me, if it pisses them off, I'm all for it.
Wow. So quite a story. A plan that started with some logic.
Completely derailed by a catastrophic failure in vetting partners and an overwhelming inability to delay gratification. They stole $17.3 million and basically gift-wrapped the evidence and most of the cash right back to the FBI within weeks.
The original goal was freedom, right? Escape from that 30-year debt sentence scam calculated. But you look at the outcome, years in prison, nearly $19 million collectively owed in restitution, a debt that will follow Gant for life. It really makes you wonder.
It does. And maybe that's the final thought for you listening. What is the actual cost of chasing that dream of easy money? Was the fleeting, tacky thrill of a $43,000 ring and a black velvet Elvis really worth decades of financial ruin and lost freedom?